I think one of my favorite things about hand tool woodworking is that first time you get a hand plane with a nice sharp blade that you can just take over a piece of wood, and you get these beautiful shavings that come off of it. And I've often thought, what would it be like if you can actually take these shavings and do something with them other than just throwing them in the garbage? And today in this video, we're actually gonna be answering that question by making this plane shaving face mask. Come check it out. Well, the first step in this project was actually creating the plane shavings I was going to use. And this was a little bit of a trick. I wanted to make sure that they were going to be very workable. So I found if they were too thin, that was difficult to work with. I also found if they were too thick, then they tended to snap more easily. And so this is kind of the happy medium I found between those that worked out pretty well. I did find though that the one challenge was they didn't want to stay flat. And this was a struggle throughout the entire process. So a lot of this is just me trying to figure out a good way to do this. I've never done something like this before. Every time you get one of these plane shavings unrolled, it just wants to roll right back up. So I'm trying to find a system to keep these pinned down to the table so I can work with them. Eventually though, I did get a system that I thought worked pretty well. I secured one piece and put some glue on it. And then from there, I laid out a bunch of strips of plane shavings and secured them down one by one. This seemed to work pretty well. I'm making this look like it went a little bit faster than it actually did. I had to reapply some glue because it had dried. But eventually, through a lot of perseverance, I got all the pieces in place. My plan is to use this to weave other plane shavings through. And so I'm really going to try to secure it as best I can and then begin weaving. And I must say, doing something like this for the first time, it really did test my patience. It required lifting up all these individual pieces and then trying to slide this through, all the while the pieces trying to curl back up and then securing it down. So it took a little while, but eventually through perseverance, I was able to get it done. And it was a pretty neat opportunity just to try something completely different, completely outside my normal way of doing things. I think if I was ever to make something a lot larger than this, I would definitely try to come up with a bit of a better system, something more efficient. But for the small project that I was working on, this seemed to work just fine. And the more you did it, the more you kind of got a hang of how it worked and ways to make it more efficient. I used a lot of wood glue throughout this project, and I was working on a wooden workbench. So about halfway through, I had this thought, I better make sure that this isn't going to stick to my workbench and be impossible to peel off later on. So I just grabbed a chisel and went under there to make sure it wasn't going to give me any problems. It became a bit more difficult toward the end, just having less space to work with, but it was still not too bad to be able to lift up those pieces and get the other one through and weave everything in place. It was especially difficult on the last layer, and so I actually ended up taking a chisel and trying to use that to get under there, and that seemed to help me just to get into that hard to reach place. And once this final piece was weaved through, it was just a matter of adding some glue and some other layers to just give some more stability to this face mask. So obviously any face mask that involves glue probably isn't a good thing to be putting by your face. It's the only way I can think of to glue these together with any kind of cohesion, so that's what we're going to use. So to add extra strength, again, I'm just gluing these extra plane shavings to the sides, acting as a bit of a border on the edge, and I'm going to do this on all the sides and then flip it over and add some more on that side. And while I'm at it, I'll just trim off some of the excess with the chisel before getting ready to flip it over. I did the same thing on the other side. Unfortunately, the camera ran out of memory, but you can kind of picture it, and I was able to finish off the mask. So here we go. I'm pretty happy with how this came out. For a bunch of plane shavings weaved together, I think it turned out pretty well. And now it's just a matter of fitting it onto my face and attaching the strings, and then I will have my face mask ready to go. I knew I didn't want to use elastic or anything that would put extra pressure on this mask. I wanted to fit loosely. So I just grabbed some twine that I had and then just kind of roughly estimating how much twine I would need, I was able to cut that on the bench. And rather than trying to make it exact, I just thought I'll leave myself a bit extra and just tie a knot that can be adjusted
if I need to make those adjustments. I don't usually have a hot glue gun out in the garage, but I was able to dig one out of our craft cupboard, and that seemed to work really well for attaching the twine to the mask. And once those were attached, it was just a matter of putting some knots in there and getting ready for a test fit.
So here we go, we're gonna try it on. Oh. There we go. Not bad. I tend to wear glasses actually, and I take them off because of the glare for the videos, but yeah, this does nothing for the common fog problem, so that's not a solution. So anyways, that's the video for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully you got some entertainment out of it at least. I'm gonna be back next week with a more practical woodworking video, and until next time, I'll see you later.